What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video, or for those that are seeing the compilation, the next part of the compilation. This is the seventh conspiracy theory that Alex Bale has made involving SpongeBob, the robot invasion theory. So it's it looks a bit longer than others. Not gonna lie, like there's only a few things that can match in length, so that's a bit interesting, in all honesty. Other than that, this was an interesting one, but it involves some episodes from way back then, like around the beginning of SpongeBob, first like one of the first three seasons, at least. I think it was one of the first three seasons. I mean, it's one of the first three that comes to mind, but yeah. Other than that, we are gonna react to the alien jellyfish invasion mini theory. That one seems a bit weird to me, but whatever. But yeah, on this, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button below, hit the subscribe button, support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when the video comes out. And if there's any videos you want me to react to, put it down in the comment section below, and I'll react to it as soon as possible. The link to this video is going to be down in the description below, so be sure to give Alex Bale some love and support for all the conspiracies that he made throughout the years, because it took like 5 years when it came to the SpongeBob stuff, and he had to mix it with the Muse. So yeah, I think 5 years of the main conspiracy theories, and now he's making a compilation of them and some new stuff to it, and 8 mini theories. So yeah, be sure to give him some love and support for all the work he's done there. Now, on that, for a general reminder, I'm not going to react to the stuff that I've already reacted to, but I am going to react to the new stuff that Alex has put in to all these conspiracies. We're almost done, and as a reminder, as I'm recording this, I'm doing all the recording in one sitting, separate parts and all that, and bringing all those parts together on a later date for a compilation video. Which, for those that are seeing the compilation right now, you get the point. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff to do, so let's not keep it all waiting. I think that's the right way to say it, but yeah. Let's just go. This is the robot invasion theory.
Alright, so I admit it, some of my theories have been a little crazy lately. I mean, Goofy Goober, alien death cult theory, Pearl's dead mother theory. Let's maybe try and slow down a bit on this one. There is a secret robot invasion happening in Bikini Bottom! Everywhere you look, robots have integrated themselves into society, kidnapping and replacing people with robot cyborgs, waiting for their chance to rise up and start the robot apocalypse. This is not a joke. I repeat, the robots are coming. The robots are coming.
This is the robot invasion theory.
One of my favorite episodes of SpongeBob is the season 3 episode Crabborg. SpongeBob watches a scary robot movie, then gets super paranoid about robots taking over, and even kidnaps Mr. Krabs.
What? You think I'm a robot?
We don't think, we know.
It's a really funny episode, but I can't help but wonder if SpongeBob's fears might be a bit more justified than we thought. In the episode SB129, we get our first glimpse of the future of Bikini Bottom, 2,000 years later.
Okay, what's going on here? Why is everything chrome?
Everything is chrome in the future.
We see a world covered in chrome, where everyone has been replaced with robotic people.
SpongeBob, is that you?
SpongeBob? No! I am Spongetron.
And this isn't the only time we see a future full of robots. In the Season 7 episode Back to the Past, SpongeBob time travels to an alternate future where Man Ray takes over, and once again, people have been replaced by robots. And then, in the second SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, there's a deleted scene where SpongeBob and Plankton go to the future and see this.
We did it! I wonder when we are. Excuse me, sir. Do you know what year this is? Cyborgs! We didn't go back in time. We went front in time.
There's also 2 new episodes, Welcome to Binary Bottom and PL1413, that show us the future taken over by robots. I'll talk about them a
So basically, no matter what, robots take over. So this theory is has more mirth in it than anyone can really think of. Okay, that's alright, I guess. Yeah, cool.
A little more at the end of this theory. And there's even foreshadowing in episodes that take place in the present. In the Krusty Krab training video, we hear this.
Well, luckily for you, Mr. Krab's fear of robot overlords keeps the balance of technology in check.
And in Insecurity Guards, we can see an exhibit that clearly shows the evolution of SpongeBob eventually getting taken over by robots. Okay, so there seems to be a lot of evidence for the future of Bikini Bottom being taken over by robots. But honestly, why does any of this matter? I mean, robots ruling the world is a pretty common depiction of the future in lots of different media. And even if this is the canonical future of the show, it's at the very least thousands of years in the future. It's not like we can already see this robot invasion happening in present-day Bikini Bottom, right? Here's an interesting question about SpongeBob that's always bothered me. Why are there so many robots in the show? And I'm not talking about Sandy or Plankton's inventions. It makes sense for them to have robots since they're both genius inventors. But why do hospitals and office buildings and amusement parks and Weenie Hut Juniors and many, many more places have such advanced robots? I mean, let's ignore the fact that they're underwater and robots wouldn't really make sense down here. Bikini Bottom isn't like a super advanced society, right? You wouldn't really say that they have much futuristic technology, except when it comes to robots. But why? And what's even stranger is that there are many instances where these robots suddenly turn evil. The first time I really started to notice this was in the season 7 episode Tunnel of Glove. SpongeBob and Pearl get trapped in a Glove World boat ride that's full of animatronics. Patrick tries to set them free by breaking into the control room, but accidentally causes all the animatronics to suddenly turn evil and attack SpongeBob. Now, this is a pretty basic cartoon trope. Someone accidentally breaks the controls, then the robot malfunctions and turns evil. This isn't really all that weird for SpongeBob. Except, what's strange about this is that Patrick doesn't break any controls. He hits a button labeled Animatronic Override, and that's what causes the robots to turn evil.
I'll just gingerly lean on this wall. Huh?
They aren't malfunctioning. The robots were intentionally designed to have a button that makes them attack people, but why? Then, in the episode Good Neighbors, Squidward discovers a flyer for a home security system that's suspiciously free despite it clearly being very advanced. After he sets it up, his house suddenly grows arms and legs and starts destroying Bikini Bottom.
Wow, Squidward's house is destroying the neighborhood.
Now, to be fair, this was a malfunction caused by SpongeBob, but why would a simple home security system have giant arms and legs? I mean, the malfunction didn't create them, they were clearly already installed. They eventually do manage to stop the house, but what's really creepy about this is that we can still see signs of Squidward's house being sentient after this episode. Then, in the season 11 episode Krusty Cleaners, SpongeBob and Patrick go to an office building and encounter a trash cleaning robot. The robot immediately attacks them for causing a mess.
Ow! My rump is roasting!
But this time, there's no malfunction that causes this. It's working exactly as intended. Not only does the trash robot have a buzzsaw and a literal laser cannon, but it also turns all of the nearby machines into killer robots to help hunt down SpongeBob and Patrick. So, where are all these places getting these super advanced robots, and more importantly, why are they all being programmed to suddenly turn evil? This is a question that stumped me for a while, until I watched the season 11 episode, My Leg. This is the episode where I truly realized there was an actual conspiracy theory here, and not just cartoon antics. It's time we finally find out who's behind the robot invasion. The episode, My Leg, focuses on the reoccurring gag of this one fish always injuring his leg throughout the show.
My leg! My leg! My leg!
At one point in the episode, he goes to a hospital and meets a robot that works there. It's just a small throwaway gag. The robot never turns evil or does anything strange.
Don't take my leg! Don't take my leg!
But there's something awfully familiar about the robot's design. Let's go all the way back to the season 3 episode Plankton's Army, which opens with Plankton trying to steal the Krabby Patty's secret formula with a robot disguise.
You never know what trick he'll use to steal me secret Krabby Patty formula.
What a quaint restaurant. I think I will sample their wares.
These robots have an uncanny similarity, right down to the same tie. Okay, but maybe we could just chalk this up to the showrunners being lazy and reusing assets. But SpongeBob has always had a pretty diverse amount of robot designs throughout the show. And it's not like this is a direct copy-paste either. They went to the effort to redesign the face and colors, but it was still clearly based on Plankton's robot. So, here's my theory. Plankton has built many robots to try and steal the Krabby Patty secret formula, but I think after he fails to do so, he doesn't just throw them away. He redesigns the robots and then gives them to different businesses in Bikini Bottom with the intention to one day use them to take over the world once he has enough in place. I mean, we know what Plankton really wants isn't the secret formula, it's to rule the world.
I will rule the world!
And there's even the video game, Battle for Bikini Bottom, where Plankton tried to take over using an army of robots. Many people commented this, but this also could explain how Plankton stays in business despite never having any customers.
He probably sells them, because how else is he funding
Oh,
himself?
man.
People don't eat at his fucking restaurant. Oh, that's okay.
I like that. That's a very cool point. Good job, guys.
I didn't really realize that in detail back then. I don't think I even realized it for a certain number of time, though. But it is an interesting theory, and it does actually make sense. I mean, how else does he keep a building, keep electricity running, and everything else? I mean, he needs money, and he has money to use in other episodes, so it's weird that he's still in business and all that and has, well, money. And then you realize this. Well, not realize this, but then you get this information, and then, yeah, it makes sense. This would explain how he's still running a business, how he still has money, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, this is a interesting detail, and it makes a lot of sense, and it also explains why a lot of the robots are very similar to Plankton's, all things considering.
So, this theory doesn't seem too far-fetched for Plankton's character, but we're gonna need a lot more evidence if we're gonna prove he's the one behind all the robots in Bikini Bottom. So, let's get started. In the Season 3 episode, No Weenies Allowed, we see a robot working at a place called Weenie Hut Juniors.
Would you care for another Diet Cola with a lemon twist, Weenie?
And while it doesn't resemble any of the robots we've seen Plankton make, does that voice sound familiar to you?
Would you care for another Diet Cola with a lemon twist, Latte Quaint restaurant? I think I will sample their wares.
And again, it's not like this is the default robot voice we hear in SpongeBob. There are many different voices the show has used for robot characters.
Latte Quaint restaurant.
Greetings, I am Robo 2.1.
No threat detected. This is very uncomfortable.
Leave my father alone!
But here, they specifically recreated the voice from Plankton's robot. Let's go back to Glove World for a second. In the control room, we see a machine on the wall that looks shockingly like SpongeBob. So much so that Patrick even mistakes him for it. We know Plankton has built a SpongeBob robot before in Welcome to the Chum Bucket. Maybe he repurposed it here inside of Glove World. In Krusty Cleaners, the trash robot also has a striking resemblance to Plankton's robot in the Season 9 episode Eek and Urchin. In the Season 5 episode The Patty Gadget, Squidward tries to get SpongeBob fired by replacing him with a machine that creates Krabby Patties for free. But it's never explained where Squidward got this machine. Now, it doesn't resemble anything we've seen Plankton make, but a staple in a lot of Plankton's inventions is having them resemble his likeness, especially with one eye in the middle, and that's exactly what we see with the Patty Gadget. And the patties it makes are terrible, which would make sense for something Plankton made. In the episode All That Glitters,
True.
SpongeBob buys a super advanced talking spatula.
Le Spatula 3000 at your service.
But in the episode Evil Spatula, we find out Plankton has a whole collection of advanced spatulas just like this one, and even tries to trick SpongeBob into taking a talking spatula. Also, in House Sittin' for Sandy, we see Sandy has a warehouse full of robots that eventually go rogue and fully destroy her tree dome.
Okay.
Now, I knew about this back when I was first making this theory, but I didn't mention it because it didn't seem like there was any way to connect it back to Plankton, since we know Sandy could have easily created these robots on her own. But in a new Season 14 episode, Hysterical History, we actually do see Plankton chasing Mr. Krabs with the same robot.
Oh, huh. Right there and everything. Same models, same kind of design. Huh. That's actually really ironic. Does that mean when Sandy trashed it, Plankton reused the parts to make the robot? I mean, it would make sense if that was the case, but if it isn't, I don't know what else.
At least Bikini Bottom is normal now.
So maybe he actually was the one who gave Sandy the robots after all. She's not even surprised to see Plankton with the same robot.
Yep, totally normal.
It seems like no matter where we turn, we can...
Or it could be that, well, Plankton has already done this before, and Sandy's just saying it's completely normal because it's a natural, everyday thing for her. At least that's my thought.
find a connection between the technology in Bikini Bottom and Plankton. But if you remember in those glimpses of the future, the world isn't just ruled by robots. They've actually replaced all the existing citizens with robot copies.
I am Spongetron.
And believe it or not, this is also something we can already see happening in Bikini Bottom today. Get ready to see how far this robot invasion has really gone. Now, we know Plankton has tried to turn people into robots before.
SpongeBob, come in here. Or should I say Robot Bob?
But he gave up after SpongeBob was too annoying.
You've got to take that yellow nightmare back. It's not worth it.
But I don't think this was his only attempt. In the season 11 episode, The Checkup, SpongeBob and Squidward are trying to give Mr. Krabs a health checkup by testing his pinching reflexes.
Okay, I brought plenty of things for Mr. Krabs to pinch. A pinch of salt.
And one of the things they have him pinch is a baby.
A baby's cheek. Lucky that was a robot baby.
Some random baby just turned out to be a robot, and it's never explained why. That's weird even for SpongeBob. But things get even more interesting when we go back to season 9 in the episode Plankton's Pet, where Plankton tries to steal a Krabby Patty using the exact same purple baby as a robot disguise.
That diabolical fiend! I can't believe this is working!
And we're not even done yet. If we go even further back to the season 5 episode Goo Goo Gas, we can actually see the exact moment where Plankton gets the idea to turn the baby into a robot.
Why, you're so tiny and helpless, I could take your formula whenever I wanted to, and you couldn't do a thing about it.
That's it! Finally, victory will be mine!
Now, in the episode, it's implied that this is just him getting the idea to turn everyone into babies to steal the formula, but isn't it crazy how it also perfectly lines up with the purple baby fish suddenly turning into a robot in future episodes?
Dude, Plankton took up taxidermy, bro! Stuffed a baby skin with robot parts, bro!
Now, there's another fish who's always been very suspicious to me. The strangely realistic news anchor fish.
All of Bikini Bottom is abuzz over the identity of a mysterious flying man who helps people. Who knows what superhero act of courage he'll astound us with next?
In a show full of cartoon characters, why is he the only realistic one? In fact, I made a whole theory about how there are evolved cartoony fish that can talk, and primitive realistic fish who can't. But as many people have pointed out, the one exception to this is the realistic news anchor fish. Well, if you ask me, he looks a lot like one of those animatronic singing fish you buy in a gift shop. Especially the way he mechanically moves his mouth and how we only ever see one side of him. So, already a pretty strong indication that he might be a robot, but there's also something familiar about his voice.
What kind of cruel, careless, evil person? I'll canvass all the seediest lowbrow dives in town. Evil canvass all the seediest lowbrow...
Oh yeah.
What? Plankton! It does sound like Plankton. I never caught that. Plankton controls the news?
That's right. He has the same voice as Plankton. And if you're gonna take over the world, then you're definitely gonna want to control the media. But then how did he grow hair in the Mrs. Puff theory if he was actually a robot all along? Fucking, I don't know. Maybe robots can just grow their hair, okay? I don't know, man. You try making 8 SpongeBob theories and having them all connect perfectly.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. But, yeah, I actually forgot that the news anchorman and Plankton has the same voice actor. That actually really slipped my mind there for a second. That's on me. That's on me for forgetting that bit.
Okay?
But how exactly is Plankton replacing these people with robots? Well, I think the season 10 episode Whirly Brains gives us an important clue. In this episode, suddenly a new toy becomes extremely popular in Bikini Bottom, the Whirly Brain.
Just flip your lid, attach the propeller, and watch your brain soar hundreds of feet into the air.
Yeah, it's a weird episode. So, people are actually voluntarily
Yeah.
attaching devices to their brains and ripping them out of their bodies, and no one thinks that this is suspicious? If you ask me, this seems like the perfect way to replace someone with a robot. Remember, in Welcome to the Chum Bucket, Plankton told us how he turns people into robots.
I'll be forced to remove your brain and implant it in my robot chef!
By removing their brains. But is there any proof that he's the one behind the Whirly Brain toys? Let's take a look at the new SpongeBob prequel, The Patrick Star Show. Every once in a while, the show cuts to this stop-motion parody of Frankenstein with Plankton, and he actually uses Whirly Brains to conduct his experiments. It's not super clear how this all connects to the main show. I mean, we do see Patrick interact with the stop-motion Plankton at some point, so they're at least in the same universe, but regardless, it's still a solid connection. We see another head-based gadget in the season 11 episode Bottle Burglars, an invisible helmet being advertised in a magazine for only 99 cents. And in the same episode, we see Plankton using the exact same helmet.
Crabs will never see me coming in Vizos.
I ain't gonna lie, my boy was very muscular. Look at, god damn, Plankton. That boy got abs for days.
Now, maybe this is just implying that he bought the helmet from the magazine, but that doesn't really line up with what we know about Plankton as an inventor. Plus, I can't see them selling a tiny version of the helmet just for Plankton. Seems a lot more likely that Plankton created the helmet and is selling them to the people of Bikini Bottom, possibly as a way to create more robots.
How hard does this nigga have to watch these shows to catch these? How hard? Like, I feel like he's watching this shit too hard. Like, this man has like a magnifying glass.
This was pointed out to me, but there was this one time Gary's shell exploded and—
Oh yeah, that episode. That was the one where Gary was attracted to Squidward's snail. Yeah, I remember that one. Though it was a one-off thing, so I don't think that really counts, does it? No. No, it actually doesn't, I think, so, yeah.
and exposed a robotic motor.
Gary?
But since it was just a one-time gag and there's no other robot connections with Gary, I don't think there's enough to make a case for our robot Gary theory. Alright, so we're starting to get a pretty clear idea of how Plankton plans on turning the citizens of Bikini Bottom into robots. But there is one more character that I believe has already been secretly assimilated into a robot. And it's not some random background character either. It's one of the main characters in SpongeBob SquarePants. This final part of the robot invasion theory is going to completely change the way you look at the entire show. Are you ready? Because this is the Patrick Star theory.
Patrick?
Now, I fully realize saying Patrick is a robot is a very bold claim, but hold your judgments till the end. By far, the most requested theory I get on this channel is to cover Patrick Star, and more specifically, his inconsistent intelligence. Throughout the entire show, there are these little moments where Patrick suddenly says something smart.
I'm a bit more complicated than that. The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma.
And then immediately goes back to being dumb. There's so many examples of this happening that many people have actually made their own theories about it. Is Patrick secretly a genius and just pretending to be dumb? Does he have a secret split personality?
I diagnosed Patrick Star with trauma-induced anxiety triggered spontaneously duplicative multi-intellectual DID with additional paranoid schizophrenic delusions of a mental multiverse. Paranoid
What? Whoa! What?
Maybe, but I've come to a bit of a different conclusion. Have you ever noticed how every time we see Patrick try to think, there's either sparks or smoke coming out of his head?
Is Patrick speaking again?
And almost every time we see inside of Patrick's head, it's represented with gears or some kind of machinery. Now, we're we're supposed to assume that this is just a cartoony way to visualize thought, but what's strange is just how consistent they are with it. And even stranger, none of the other characters' thoughts are visualized this way.
Just got an order from the boss. Dump everything that isn't about fine dining. Squidward's happy gland is forced to take shelter in the recesses of his mind.
It's only Patrick who seems to have this robotic association with him. And just look at how detailed they are with it. While Patrick's head is sparking in a Rule of Dumb, if you look closely, you can see a spring pop out of him, and even a hole left behind by the spring. That is such a small detail that no one would notice unless you were going frame by frame. And if this is just supposed to be a metaphor inside of Patrick's head, how come SpongeBob clearly sees the spring come out? Alright, so now that I've done my imagination theory, some of this evidence doesn't hold up as much, but even looking back on it, it's still just strange how many robotic connections there are with specifically Patrick. I don't know, I still think it works. Okay, so let's entertain the idea for a moment that Patrick might be some sort of robot. How would he have gotten converted, and why does this cause him to randomly become smart every once in a while?
Sorry, I had to really think about what he said a second ago. But yeah, he's right. The very fact that Patrick has a very large amount of anything related to robots, even though he himself is a weird one to pick as someone who's a robot, he still has a lot more robot related stuff than any other character within the show. So yeah, it makes sense why you would think that he is like a robot through all these different means and all that.
Well, I looked at all the scenes where Patrick suddenly does something smart, and I noticed a bit of a pattern. There are two different types of these moments. There are times when we think he's saying something intelligent.
Wait, SpongeBob! We're not cavemen! We have technology!
But then it's revealed he's not actually being smart. This doesn't contradict his character at all. Patrick is someone who doesn't see himself as dumb, so there's lots of times when he tries to be smart, but he fails.
Dumb people are always blissfully unaware of how dumb they really are.
But there are also moments where he actually does do something undeniably smart.
Wait a minute, Squidward. They might be onto something.
We could filter the CO2 through our ballast tanks, refire the engines, and ride the shockwave out of here.
Wow. He's right.
But then he immediately acts oblivious to the fact that he was being smart.
We're going through with your plan, Patrick. Yay!
What plan?
So, I kept track of these two different types of moments, and it seems like after Season 3 is when he suddenly switches from pretending to be smart to actually having these smart moments. And this switch perfectly lines up with the Season 4 episode, Patrick's Smarty Pants. In this episode, Patrick falls off a cliff and gets his head knocked off. SpongeBob accidentally replaces his head with some brain coral, which makes him become a genius.
I find all this laughter to be highly illogical.
In the end, they switch back to his normal head, and Patrick goes back to his usual stupid self. But take a closer look at the scene when he first puts on the brain coral.
Here's your head.
Now, many people have interpreted these gears with cobwebs as a metaphor for Patrick's brain never being used until now, but these gears are not from Patrick's brain. His brain came off during the fall, which means these gears are entirely from the brain coral. And at the end of the episode, when they remove the brain coral, we can still see the electrical plug attached to it. We are no longer seeing a metaphorical representation inside of someone's head. We are seeing this plug from an outside perspective. The brain coral is just like the Whirly Brains, a robotic device that plugs into your brain to control you. Isn't it convenient that Patrick just happened to land next to a pile of coral that looked identical to his head? Is it possible that Plankton saw this as an opportunity to add another victim to his robot invasion? But after Patrick removed it, he went back to normal, right? He completely stopped Plankton's plan, right? Well, one season later, in the episode Sing a Song of Patrick, Patrick attempts to use his brain again, and we see the exact same gears inside of his head.
Come on, you stupid brain! Work!
The creators went out of their way to recreate the exact placement of all the gears from the brain coral, which means the head Patrick put on at the end of Patrick's Smarty Pants was not his head. It was another piece of robotic brain coral. but it seems like for whatever reason, this brain coral isn't as effective as the first one, and he's only able to have rare moments of genius. Okay, so I know this whole brain coral theory relies on a lot of assumptions, and it could definitely be stronger, but come on, they literally showed us that his brain still has the exact same gears from specifically the brain coral. Like, what else could this even be implying? I feel like this alone is one of the best pieces of evidence in this video. In the season...
I mean, putting it that way, he's not wrong. I mean, if you think about it in such a way, he's actually right. Because it's just strange that the same kind of artwork for the same character has been used twice. Especially one that involves him potentially being a robot and all that. It just seems way too convenient. So, it is possibly true.
In 12 episodes, SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout, Patrick has another one of his smart moments.
Oh, would you look at the hour? It's almost time for me to take SpongeBob on that tour so you guys can decorate his house.
But this moment in particular is very interesting because Plankton is actually there to witness it. And take a guess how Plankton responds to him.
I guess even a broken moron can be right once a day.
He calls Patrick a broken moron because he knows Patrick is a broken one of his experiments. And if you still don't believe me, in the newest episode of Season 13, The Goofy Scoopers, we get this scene.
This stinks. I wanted to go backstage for an autograph.
Plankton was here. Yes, he certainly was. And that is the robot invasion theory. Thank you very much.
Bro, look at his fucking hand. Yo.
Okay, so before we move on, I have got to bring up a new SpongeBob episode that recently came out called Welcome to Binary Bottom.
Submitted for your approval. A trip to Binary Bottom.
Whoa, okay, this is different. Like, this is very different compared to a lot of the stuff we have seen throughout anything involving the future. Is so different.
This episode shows us a version of Bikini Bottom called Binary Bottom, where everything and everyone has been replaced by robots.
Morning, SpongeBob.
So, obviously, I was like, holy shit, robot invasion theory confirmed, let's go, another W! But it doesn't exactly line up perfectly with my theory. In this episode, Plankton has also been replaced by a robot, and not like a mastermind overlord robot running the show, but a tiny, useless robot who can barely move.
Come back here, you nickel-plated nincompoops!
Plankbot, you forgot to wind yourself again.
Thanks, Karen, my flesh and blood wife.
Also, Karen, the only character who was a robot, is now just a regular fish for some reason. So, yeah, unfortunately, this episode is probably just a non-canon alternate universe where all the robots and living things have switched places. It doesn't seem to have any connection to the implied future robot invasion in my theory, unfortunately. Unless I was wrong about Plankton being behind the robot invasion. Okay, hear me out. All of the evidence tying Plankton to the robots also ties back to Karen. She has access to all of Plankton's inventions. So this is a bit of a crazy alternate idea, but what if Karen is the one who's actually been behind the robot invasion all along? Okay, so this one might be a bit of a stretch, but here's how I think you could make it work. Either Karen was the one behind the robot invasion, or it was a plan she and Plankton had together, but she eventually turned on him. Plankton treats his wife Karen terribly throughout this show.
Plankton, you've fallen in love with another woman? I'm your wife.
Yeah! Your new screen?
So... But wait, that doesn't explain how Karen is a human.
Saver is stupid, and it makes your processor look fat!
What?
Karen Karen, I want you to meet my new computer wife,
damn,
Karen
that's
2.
Karen too?
What if this future where he's a pathetic, useless robot is actually Karen's way of getting revenge on Plankton for the years of mistreatment? A way to sort of switch their roles, so to speak. She even turned herself into a fish, a thing that's possible in this wacky universe, just take my word for it, so that she was the one in control. She's the only one in this whole town with free will. Again, kind of a crazy idea. There's not a ton of evidence for it, but it's a fun new way to look at this theory, and it's a bit less obvious than Plankton being the one behind it. That's all I had to say. Let's move on to the wrap-up. Actually, wait, hold on a second.
Huh?
After I finished recording this new section, a new episode of Spongebob was released called PL-1413. It's sort of a remake of SB-129, where Plankton is accidentally sent into the future instead of Squidward.
The future must be pretty great if everything's made of chrome.
Now, the designs of the characters are different.
Okay, so that one is more in line of what's happening. What happened when Squidward went to the future. So I guess this is the real one? I guess.
But it still shows a future where robots have taken over. We don't get to see too much about how this world ended up this way or who's in control, but the episode ends with this scene.
See you 2,000 years ago!
You can come out now, Plankton 2.0.
I thought he'd never leave.
Once again, it seems like Karen has replaced Plankton with a version she can control. He even kind of looks like the ideal version that we saw when SpongeBob went inside of Karen's brain.
Actually, I'm Karen's version of Plankton. You know how she'd like to see me?
So yeah, I don't know how all of these different futures connect, but it does seem like Karen being in charge is consistent. Okay, now we can finally move on to the wrap-up. Actually, wait, no, one more
come
thing.
on.
Literally,
I was about
right
to make a
after I
comment.
recorded this, another SpongeBob movie leaked onto Twitter, and this one's all about Plankton. I can't show any footage from it yet, but it does involve Karen getting sick of Plankton and turning on him and trying to take over the world by herself. It doesn't really, prove my theory, but, you know, it's more Karen evidence. I'll take it. I think we should be done. We should be good to move on to the wrap-up. Unless something else gets leaked. Are we good? Nothing else? Okay, let's go.
Okay, so we are good right there. Oh my gosh. What was with all that stuff being added last second? Really wasn't expecting that one. That really got me off guard there. I was about to pause, and then the pause, then the wait comment, and then the telling of how there's more evidence about the future and all that, and that really got me. So, the robot theory is possible, and there's a lot of evidence to prove that it is true, and a lot of people are being replaced, and there's a lot more robots being added throughout the SpongeBob series. And 2 of the 3 robotic-like places to being the futures for sure, one possibly being an alternate timeline. But either way, it does lead to one interesting thing. Karen has the one with more control, I believe would be the correct term. But yeah, it seems like Karen is the one on top more times than not. So that's an interesting thing to know. Also never heard this new film that's gonna involve Karen taking over the world. That's an interesting one. So let's see what's the thought process here on this one.
Alright, the robot invasion theory. I'd probably put it somewhere in the middle at 5th place. It's good. It's a pretty good theory. I think there's a lot of evidence that robots are secretly trying to take over, and there's a lot of evidence connecting it back to Plankton or maybe
True.
Karen now, but that's kind of the problem. It's just a lot of evidence. This whole video is mostly just me reading off a list of robot examples and connections. It makes for a strong theory, but there really isn't as much of a compelling narrative to keep you engaged, and I think a good theory video needs to have both. Like, for example, the Mrs. Puff theory isn't just me telling you every time Mrs. Puff acts crazy, it's me telling you the tragic story of this very sympathetic character. You've got a reason to keep watching and actually feel something when I reveal a dark plot twist. But this theory, I don't really give you as much of a reason to care about Plankton's plan or the victims turning into robots, and that's fine for a mini theory, but this was almost 20 minutes long, and you've already watched 6 of these. I think the new ideas about Karen definitely help make it a little more interesting, and overall, it's still a really fun idea. It just maybe could have been executed a little bit better. Okay, those are my thoughts. Time for the real reason you guys are watching this video.
So the reason it's placed in 5th is it has a lot of evidence, examples, and whatnot. But the issue of it is less of that, but more of the fact that there's no real narrative. It just only sounds like you're giving facts and details. Is that what I'm understanding when it comes to this theory being in 5th place? I hope so, because I really do want to make sure I'm understanding the information being given. I still don't understand this one.
Okay, so the actual most frequent comment I get on any of my videos is, "Where's the jellyfish theory?" And I get it. I tease this whole jellyfish alien invasion theory as sort of a misdirect in Don't Feed the Muse 2. This may be my darkest theory yet. This is the alien jellyfish invasion theory. The idea was that the plot of the theory was actually foreshadowing the plot of Don't Feed the Muse, but a lot of people still really wanted to see that theory, and I still get comments about it to this day, and for good reason. I was definitely clickbaiting you guys there. And to be completely honest, I only chose that topic because it lined up so well with the film I was making. I didn't actually have a theory planned for it, but now that I've really looked into it a bit more, I do think there's actually a surprising amount of things to say about this topic. I think it might actually be one of my best mini theories in this video. So finally, here is the long-awaited alien jellyfish invasion theory. Aliens have invaded Bikini Bottom and taken the form of jellyfish. One by one, they replace the citizens of Bikini Bottom with identical clones, slowly taking over the population from within. Throughout the entire show, there have been hints of these alien jellyfish secretly controlling people and pulling the strings from the shadows. This may be my darkest theory yet. This is the alien jellyfish invasion theory. One of the creepiest episodes of SpongeBob is, by far, the Season 8 episode, Planet of the Jellyfish. A mysterious green alien appears in jellyfish fields and starts spreading alien jellyfish clones all over Bikini Bottom. By getting the people to wear the alien jellyfish's hats, one by one they kidnap and replace the citizens of Bikini Bottom with identical clones. This whole episode is very much a parody of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers films. Eventually, SpongeBob discovers the weakness of the aliens is none other than mayonnaise, and he uses it to kill the aliens and set everyone free. But how free are they, really? Afterwards, Mr. Krabs decides to resell all the remaining alien goo as a new Krabby Patty condiment.
Freaky clone jelly relish!
Get your freaky clone jelly relish patties!
And the episode ends with Patrick ordering one of these patties, but without mayonnaise.
I'll have one relish patty. Oh, the man.
We're left on this cliff.
Is that the theory? That Patrick is a clone? Or, I guess, I don't know, what would the correct wording be? That he's being mentally manipulated by these aliens. So this is more of the episode this alien thing started to the now current episodes. Okay, that's alright.
Cliffhanger where Patrick might still very well be an alien clone. And that's it. It's been 11 years since this episode came out, and there's been no continuation of this story since then. So, is Patrick an alien? Are the Jellians still somehow around, secretly plotting another takeover? Well, before I answer that, I can actually tell you exactly where these aliens...
Wait, 11 years? let's see, we're in 2025, so that means it came out in 2014, 2013? I don't remember this one. That where I found it so uninteresting that I just forgot it. Or maybe I did, but I was busy at the time, so I couldn't fully look at it. That's I can't really think on that one because I can't remember if I have seen it or not.
Aliens came from. The background of the title card for this episode shows a barren alien planet, but we've actually seen this exact planet before. In the season 4 episode, Squidbob Tentacle Pants, Sandy is experimenting with a new teleportation device and accidentally sends SpongeBob and Squidward to an alien planet for a few seconds.
Well, here goes nothing.
The exact same alien planet we see in the Planet of the Jellyfish title card. Now, the aliens we see on this planet don't really resemble the Jellians, so at first I thought maybe the Jellians were originally just a different species somewhere else on this planet, but then I noticed in the background we see this orange and yellow ringed planet that isn't present in the Jellyfish title card. Planet of the Jellyfish is obviously a parody of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and in that franchise, the aliens invaded Earth because their original home planet was dying. So what if this planet was the original homeworld of the Jellians, but just like in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the planet died sometime between Squidbob and Planet of the Jellyfish, and that's why the jellyfish invaded Earth. The spots on the planet even look like a jellyfish. Okay, so that's where I think the Jellians came from, but where are they now? Is Patrick actually an alien clone at the end of Planet of the Jellyfish? No, he's not. And not because I just claimed he was a robot. The Jellian clones all have black eyes and act in a very obvious...
Okay, so that actually makes sense. So Patrick isn't a clone, thanks to the fact that you're only truly known as a clone due to the fact of you having these black soulless eyes and all this and all that. That's okay. So is it the mental manipulation thing? Like, you can hear an echo of the voice of an alien in the back of your mind, always telling you what to do and what your goal is? Because that does sound like the explanation you're trying to give.
Alien way. And Patrick here looks and acts completely normal. But then why does he ask for a Krabby Patty without mayonnaise? Well, maybe it's as simple as he just doesn't like mayonnaise. Also no. And it's not because of this scene.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
It's because of the way the season 4 episode Hocus Pocus ends. When SpongeBob somehow figures out how to perform real magic and Patrick asks SpongeBob to do this.
Hey SpongeBob, I'm still hungry. Will you turn me into a jar of mayonnaise so I can eat myself?
Patricka, mayonnaise-ica.
Patrick could have asked SpongeBob to turn him into literally any food, and he chose mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is his favorite fucking food, which means there is no way he would ask to hold the mayo at the end of Planet of the Jellyfish unless he was being controlled by the Jellians, at least to some extent. So, even if he's not a full-on alien clone, I think he is being affected by the Jellian goo he ate, but in a much more subtle, dormant way. It's kind of like how rabies has evolved to make people afraid of water, because the virus spreads faster without it. The Jellian goo is subconsciously making people avoid mayonnaise in order to keep itself alive. Now, there are little hints that maybe these Jellians are still around, influencing people in future episodes. Gary, Sandy, and even Patchy all mention later that they don't like mayonnaise.
Gary hates mayo.
I don't like mayonnaise neither.
Hardy, you know I don't like mayo.
And there was this shaman guy in season 9 that had a jellyfish on his head. But, you know, other than these random one-off moments, that's kinda it. So maybe there is a secret jellyfish invasion going on, but like I said, I chose this theory because it fit the film I was making, not because there's any smoking gun.
So basically, this theory is more of a load of crap, basically. That's what I'm understanding from this explanation.
Evidence to prove it all. I mean, it's not like there's a whole convention of people wearing jellyfish hats, right?
Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about these guys. So, in the Season 2 episode, I'm Your Biggest Fanatic, we're introduced to the biannual Jellyfish Convention, where all the jellyfish enthusiasts in Bikini Bottom can meet up and enjoy their hobby.
Wow! I can't believe it! We're actually here at the biannual Jellyfish Convention.
Jellyfish are awesome.
Now, there were people wearing jellyfish hats here before the Jellyfish Invasion episode, but it's maybe like 10% of the people. But 4 seasons after Planet of the Jellyfish, we get an episode called Jolly Lodgers where we see the convention again, and literally like 99% of the people there are wearing jellyfish hats now.
Okay, that's unsettling.
I guess it just got a little more popular, you know, I guess it's not that weird. But not only does the convention seem a lot bigger, but there's some interesting new activities going on. We got increasing your sting endurance, get buff jellyfishing, do you want to be a jelly, totally legal? Maybe that's just like a little suspicious. And just listen to the way these people talk now. Okay, these guys are Jellians. They even surround Squidward.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to admit, that is a little off, but they don't have the black soulless eyes, so I don't think it's completely true. I think they just are under mental control of them. Like, they're listening to that voice in their head that belongs to a Jillington. At least that's what I think of the situation at hand. But I could be wrong. I definitely could be wrong. Not gonna lie.
In the exact same way the Jellians surrounded SpongeBob and Sandy. Look, the creators literally recreated the shot. I'm not crazy, these guys are fucking Jellians. And we even see people still wearing these jellyfish hats after the convention. In one of the newer episodes in season 14, we see a random fish wearing a jellyfish hat, even though he's not at or going to a jellyfish convention. But what's really strange here is that when Bubble Bass opens a window, everyone's stuff flies off except for this hat. It is really stuck on there. It really feels like there is some kind of alien clinging to his head. We also see Kevin's fan club, the Jelly Spotters, again in season 14, except now they've all got jellyfish hats, and they've replaced their leader, Kevin, with Patrick.
He got kicked out of the club years ago!
Which kind of makes sense since Kevin can't really wear a jellyfish hat.
True, that thing on his head is part of his physical body. Like, it completely is.
Since he's got that thing on his head.
I didn't know this was a hat.
It wasn't.
So they got someone else who the aliens could actually replace to be in charge. It makes sense. The Jellians are back, and they're using this convention to secretly add people to their alien hive mind collective. In fact, I'm even pretty sure that they successfully replaced Squidward in this episode. Throughout this episode, Squidward is trying to escape this convention, but they keep cornering him and even force him to wear a jellyfish hat. But then, at the end of this episode, he finds an empty jellyfish mascot costume and decides to use it as a disguise to escape.
If I put that dumb thing on, I can sneak out of here without anybody knowing it's me.
And it pretty much works. He manages to get away from everyone else.
I've got peace and quiet. I've got peace and quiet.
But wait a second. Let's go back to the establishing shot at the very beginning of this episode. Do you notice anything strange here, other than the stuff I've already pointed out? Hidden in the bottom right corner is the jellyfish mascot Squidward will eventually put on. But if that's the case, then why can we already see Squidward's feet coming out of it? This is way before Squidward puts on the costume to escape. We literally see him outside of the costume in the very next shot. Squidward can't also be here unless they already made an alien clone of Squidward, and at some point during the episode, they switch places. Squidward and everyone here has been replaced by the alien jellyfish invasion. And also replaced by the robot invasion, and also brainwashed by Goofy Goobers, and also being secretly controlled by the showrunners. A lot of people are trying to take over Bikini Bottom, okay? There's your jellyfish theory, you could stop commenting about it.
Okay, that's the last theory. Now that jellyfish one is a weird one. Not gonna lie, it's so weird and so random that it doesn't really make sense. Like completely abnormal. But it's not the weirdest thing. I mean, there's always someone in the background trying to control everything, so it's not the weirdest thing. If anything, it seems like a more casual, modern, real world kind of thing, where some people are trying to take over other things, and some people are trying to be in charge of these people, and yada yada yada, and they all have their own different reasons for doing it, and so on and so forth. It usually is like that. If anything, it usually complements hand to hand because with the fact of this whole alien thing being true, that could lead to the Goofy Goober Club cult thing being kind of true, and so on and so forth. But yeah, this all said, hope you all enjoyed this video. It's we had some interesting stuff, and I'd like to hear your opinion about it in the comment section below, because it was definitely interesting. So with this said, I hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. Bye! I need a moment to catch my thoughts for this last part. So see you all next time, and for those for the conspiracy compilation, I'm gonna see you all in a moment. Bye!